Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the distinguished speakers. Uh, Truly honored to have you in our Women's Day Leadership Roundtable. Special thanks to Melissa for taking the lead for moderating. And I know that it's really very difficult to make it for even 1 hour or 2 hours besides the busy schedule. I really thank all of you for making your time available. And I'm sure that we will have a great knowledge sharing and networking at the same time, and all great insights and new ideas, new thought process. So we have a great theme for this roundtable. We're going to have great leaders and professionals joining from North America, Latin America, Europe, of course, from all other places from around the world. So the topic is need for the hour. I mean, we have been talking about, getting a seat at the table. And now we are already, getting a seat on the table. And how do you really create a value to the table and create this, ROI and business value as a woman leader? I see that a lot of women leadership taking up the WFM leadership role, and a lot of them are moving into this profession, and we are growing rapidly globally. And this is a platform to discuss, talk, and something that will be able to have a great sharing today. With this, I invite Melissa for to take the session forward. Great to have you, Melissa, with us as a moderator.
Thank you so much, Dr. And I'm really excited about this topic. I was telling the fellow panelists today, I've done Women's Day events for many, many years, and either as a moderator or a panelist, and obviously as a woman leader. And in the past, 5 years, the conversation's changed. A lot of times we always talk about how do we get a seat at the table? How are we seen in leadership, especially in a math-based field? It was very challenging because around us, all of our peers were male. And it was hard to find our footing and make our way up. But that's not the case anymore. And I think, as you know, we sit in 2026, talking about how to get a seat at the table is no longer the conversation. We have earned our seat at the table. As leaders, we're judged on our leadership strength as leaders in an organization of what we can bring. So it's no longer about celebrating finding a seat at the table. It's now the seat is open. The real question now is really how we're using it. Especially in workforce, the shift is really meaningful. Our discipline is totally evolved. We came from an operational support function to now a strategic driver of business. We have capacity planning, workforce strategy, operational insights. We influence margin, revenue, growth decisions, facilities. A lot of times we're not even sitting in our own seat anymore. What we're finding is our seat is growing, right? Some of us, like me personally, I no longer am over workforce. I'm over not workforce management, but workforce overall. As the HR, talent acquisition, learning, that is become a natural shift in our organizations, because as they look to our workforce leadership, they notice how much it all touches. So we're lifting up the entire organization. So it doesn't mean that the seat is not just open. It really matters what we bring into our seat. So women leading in this space, we bring a lot of different strengths. We're underestimated sometimes in our executive environments, but the strength we bring, and what I want our panelists to talk about today, is our empathy, our listening, our ability to connect perspectives across teams, how we build alignments when the organizations are pulling us in different directions, how we even just get a spare minute to connect with people. And do we connect differently when we have those moments? These aren't just soft skills. These are leadership strengths that we bring to the table. So today I have an incredible group of leaders who are helping to shape the future of workforce management. And I want to explore how they're influencing the strategy, partnering with other leaders at the table, and bringing their own leadership style to the role. So I want to dive right in and not take up too much of the time. But I want to start with a very simple question, just to kind of frame us up, which is, what seat are you sitting in today? And what seat are you aiming for next? So I'll start with myself to kick us off. So right now I'm the EVP of Workforce Enablement at Support Services Group, which is a BPO that obviously supports many, many clients across the world. And in my current seat, I lead workforce management, workforce enablement, planning, talent acquisition, HR, learning and development. And those things happened very quickly as we've added on. So now more of a transformational enterprise role within that workforce space. So, and what seat I want next? Honestly, the world has now opened up for workforce. I never dreamed of myself going into even an executive position. And so the next place is, whatever seat my organization needs me to fill, because now that is all something we can do from our seats. So I'm going to kick it over to Rachel S. I have two Rachels on this call. So we'll take it over to Miss Scales. What seat are you sitting in today, and what are you aiming for next?
At Insight Managed Solutions, I am the head of technology and workforce management. Insight is a consulting firm. We work with companies who work with BPOs. We work with companies who don't work with BPOs. But really where my role is at the intersection of workforce technology and product development. Where I sit today is getting the organization to view workforce as a real revenue generating product and service. And really where I want to take that, or where I aim to focus in the future, is shifting that to product development, technology, innovation. Whatever seat looks like that doesn't exist yet is the seat that I'm going to find.
That's amazing, Rachel. What a great perspective. I love that idea of I don't know what my seat looks like. I'm building my seat as I'm planning to sit on it. Great perspective. Yes. Aubrey, how about you? What seat are you in today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm currently the director for workforce management at TTEC. I handle, I'd say, our largest portfolio in the tech vertical. The seat I'm sitting at today allows me to lead the workforce management team of around 90 people to provide operational stability as well as business performance, right? Expectations, not just from our internal stakeholders, but the clients as well. It's a role where data, planning, and leadership all come together, right? And where I'm aiming next is really to broaden the impact of that work and continuing to elevate workforce management, as you mentioned earlier, as a strategic discipline, right? We don't just handle staffing, capacity planning, scheduling, and whatnot. We influence revenue. We influence the cost to serve and the different factors that impact margins, right? And of course, the biggest seat I want to be at is continuing to help develop the next generation of workforce management professionals that will carry that forward.
Yeah, thank you, Aubrey. That's great. I love that perspective. And I think many of us who are in our roles now, we look to the next generation of workforce professionals, of that path we kind of walk through, and how do we continue to create our discipline and grow it. Thanks. Francia, how about you? What seat are you in today?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Francia. I'm the head of contact center in GWFM at Manulife Global Business Services. I lead teams that sit at the intersection of customer experience, operations, and workforce strategy. Today, in my current role, it allows me to influence both or contact center or our customer service team, workforce management strategy, driving decisions that impact customer experience, employee success, and operational performance. The seat I'm aiming for the next is a broader enterprise leadership role where I can shape long-term strategy, not just through workforce management or workforce intelligence, but by championing people-centered transformation across organization.
Thank you. That's awesome. I really appreciate you joining today. I know we've had some panels together before, and I always appreciate your perspective. We actually got to meet last year, which was awesome as well.
Yeah.
Rachel, and I know you're a newer member to GWFM, and I'm very excited that you're able to join us today. What seat are you currently in?
So currently I am, excuse me, the Senior Director of Workforce Management at FanDuel over our customer operations within our sportsbook program. And at this point, my seat is newer. I've been in this role for just under 6 months, and I am actively working on structure and establishing where workforce management sits within the CXO organization. As far as my next seat goes, I really am focused on getting workforce management to get in front of the initiatives instead of the byproduct of what happens. So that's an initiative shift that we really need to work on to make sure that workforce management is driving those conversations and those bigger decisions around implementation and making sure that we are included in front of all conversations and helping drive those strategic initiatives. We are at that really pivotal point right now where I'm working, and that is the one thing I'm working on very focused right now. Additionally, long-term, I would like to expand the scope of workforce management into more of workforce enablement, really partnering with QA and learning and development and product operations to make sure that that overarching scope has workforce representation across all those different bands within the organization.
I love, Rachel, I love that visual of we're at our seat in front of everything else. And I think those are a lot of lessons organizations learn the hard way when they use workforce as a reporting tool after the fact and not workforce as a transformational tool before the fact. Especially if you think about how AI is starting to come in and organizations have no idea of the impact. They don't, they're just like, well, that's just going to save us $1 zillion. And don't understand how that flow is going to work. So I do like that visual concept of where our seat sits at the table. So I appreciate that perspective. And finally, Vina, what seat are you currently in today?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Veena, and I head the resource management or the workforce management for Fractal, which is a pure play AI enterprise. So in this role, currently that's what I'm heading. Of course, it involves all the leadership capability developments, the talent management, and the regular nuances of any other workforce management thing. But where we are headed, in fact, we are already started working for the next seat is that we have aligned ourselves to transform, especially in the AI backdrop, what we are all seeing today. So the next seat, what we are, at least I'm working towards is to get this workforce management or the talent strategy integrated with this technology and the AI. And thereby, it can be a product or it can be a solution that we can offer. So that's the seat that what we are in, because that is the one that will impact all our current clients and also drive great business outcomes. And in terms of, it will also be a revenue generating model is what we are working towards. So that's the, direction that I'm working towards in the organization now.
That's great. It's such a unique, and guys, I don't set the panelists, Dr. Shiver does, and I always like how he puts our panel together. Because one of the things, like if you're sitting in the audience or listening to this recording, that you should take from this, the seat is open. Here on this panel, we have people all in different types of workforce seats. So there is no seat in your organization or organizations you become part of that you're blocked from. Whether that's a technology-based workforce seat, an enablement-based workforce seat, whether you're helping other companies figure out their own workforce seats, or you are within a company building from the ground up. All of these seats have very different perspectives, but they are indeed open. All right, I'm gonna kind of dive in a little bit, and I'm going to let you guys jump in as you feel passionate about these questions, and then maybe ask for some unique perspectives as we go. But I really want you guys to choose the ones you're most passionate about. So thinking about when workforce became strategic, when did you realize that workforce management had a real seat at the leadership table in your organization?
You ladies have mentioned this a while ago, right? I think it's when the conversation shifted from what happened yesterday to WFM, what do we do next? Right? That's when, for me, it got real. Instead of just workforce being expected to report on metrics, we began bringing workforce management into conversations right at the get-go, right? Staffing investments, operational planning, financial impact. It has become clear that our insights were influencing decisions, right? And not just documenting them. So that's when we moved into that strategic role, right? That became not just any seat on the table, but sort of like the driver's seat. We know that, we might be the ultimate decision makers, but our insights, our recommendations are what drives how the organization will move forward. So that's when, it became clear that we have a seat on the table.
Yeah, and that's great. And I wonder if, because I've been thinking a lot about this, obviously, as I built the questions, is it because we just were really good forecasters and they realized we could forecast for more than just the volume? So, Rachel Porter, knowing that you sit in a strategic forecasting space, do you think that's what it is? It's like understanding that our seats were not just used for forecasting the small, like where did you realize that your seat had taken a more strategic turn?
Yeah, great question. Really pivotal moment for me several years ago, within the last 4 or 5 years, working for a company, providing forecasts, calling out insights, and I stopped having just a historical conversation, but started offering like a what if situations. We can do this, bringing new innovations or ideas, concepts to the table. And really, I think the pivotal moment for me was when the team of C-suite came to me and said, we need to save X amount of dollars. How can we do that? And that was really just very pivotal for me to say, you're right, I am not the output of workforce management or what's happening in the business. I am actually the driver of how this company can stay afloat and how we can get ahead in our market. And that was one of the most pivotal moments for me to realize, workforce is, not only do we have a seat at the table, but we can use that seat to drive actual change. And that's what I really felt. Yeah, we could just really just re-innovate what workforce can do and be able to help drive those strategic changes.
Well, and then for me, I sometimes those emotions when that happens could be terrifying or exciting. So Dina, tell us about your moment that you realized that you weren't just driving workforce anymore.
I think several years back when I just started on the workforce journey, like Rachel said, the one thing that was asked is, we have too much of people in between projects. How can we deploy them? That's the cost. And I think was the moment, a watershed moment for me to realize that this is the function which actually contributes directly, real time, both to the top line and bottom line of an organization. Right? We deploy people or we do get projects, we fulfill them. That's the revenue that we get to the company. And we manage all of this utilization and 101 other metrics, which actually is the cost that we are managing for them. So we are not doing something post facto, or we are not just, doing some data analysis. We are actually contributing a real time. And this is a message I give not only to my team, but to many of them, telling this is such a critical function in every organization that it contributes to both the top line and the bottom line. So we are the ones who actually drive a lot of things, and nothing better than your, profits and margins and the EBITDAs of the world. So yeah.
Well, and no, that's great. And then now moving on to Ms. Gales, and Francia, like your perspective is different because you help other organizations. Like it's so challenging, and same thing when the BPO world with Aubrey and I, when you actually do know, like the path, but you also, it's not just having a seat at your table at your company. You have your seat. Now you got to convince other companies
Yes.
where someone's sitting in that seat who may not know as much as you. I'm sure we don't have those situations. How do you now wedge yourself into someone else's table as they're your client and you're the workforce? I'll start with you, Francia, but I want to hear from you, Rachel, as too, because it's a very different seat.
Yeah, probably I can start. It's for me, it's shifting from numbers to strategy. Just wanted to share, a few years ago, we were preparing for a project in a customer inquiries driven by changes in the regulatory. So that traditionally WFM would forecast volumes, percent staffing gaps, and operations would then decide how much they could fund. But this time, instead of stopping at the metrics, my team and I translated the projections into real business implications. How customers' wait time would change, what that meant for satisfaction, and how it could impact retention and financial cost for both actions and inactions. And I remember walking into a meeting expecting questions about numbers, but instead, the room leaned into conversations about risk and customer impact. And for me, that was the moment I realized that WFM has evolved. We weren't just validating decisions anymore, we were shaping them. And afterwards, a senior executive told me, "Thank you, Francia, for showing us the story behind the numbers. That's what changed the decision." And that's when I knew our seat at the table wasn't just open, it was influential for the entire business.
Absolutely. Thank you. Rachel, how about you? Like, again, working with so many companies, how do you influence a seat when it's not at your table? And when did you realize you could?
I want to echo a little bit about what Francia said. It's also about giving options and pros and cons, and really making our clients feel like they are the one that gets to make the decision. We can make recommendations and give pros and cons in both ways, but ultimately they're the one that owns the business and are going to have to speak to it. So getting them comfortable with the assumptions, pros and cons, and risks for each plan so that they have some confidence in the decision they're making. I want to add a little. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to add a little bit of how I realized WFM had a seat at the table within my organization, because I think that's a bit of a unique perspective. Mid 2024 is when I started to take over Workforce, and we were adding more client supports, and really without even trying. And that's where I really realized it can be a revenue generating product for our organization, and put some effort into what does the structure look like? What does my team look like? What does pricing look like, et cetera? And it's really blown up for us since then. So I think that's a unique perspective.
Yeah, and I think workforce management servicing is very important because our discipline is shrinking, in the world. It really is. Like, there's not a lot of us. And it's a highly demanded field. So returning that. So I want to switch the same conversation, but a little different perspective. Obviously, your answers would be, similar to our male counterparts. And we are celebrating women in workforce today. So this seat that you have at the table, how has it changed how you show up as a leader? Like, how does it really change the way you lead in this space? Are you mirroring what you learned 20 years ago, watching our male counterparts? Or how's it different from you as a woman leader in this space on how you show up? So I'm going to start, we'll go in backwards order. So I'm going to start with you, Rachel. S.
So I stopped leading. This is going to sound really silly coming from a workforce management perspective, but I stopped leading with numbers and accuracy and output and started leading with implications and outcomes and what will happen if we do this and should we do this instead. It's all based in the data, of course, but bringing it back to the what is the outcome and putting that perspective with both my team and my clients has had a big shift.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna throw in here. I think too, for me, I think it's easier as women to announce how we feel at the beginning, right? To be like, this is a very frustrating situation, guys. Let's try to keep the tone. Like, I think that's our unique empathy to where like we know these numbers are going to shake the core of people. How do we show up differently there? No, it's good. That's great. Thank you, Rachel. Francia, how about you?
Yep. Sure. So one of the moments that really showed me the unique strengths women bring to leadership in workforce management happened during a period of major operational volatility, wherein volumes were unpredictable, emotions were high, and every decisions felt like it's difficult for both immediate and long-term implication. And in the middle of that, one of my senior analysts came to me completely overwhelmed. And instead of jumping straight into fixing numbers, I took a step back and focused on understanding what she was dealing with, not just the workload, but the pressure behind it. And that moment of empathy opened up a deeper conversation. I remember she shared concerns that I would have known otherwise. And together we redesigned the workflow in a way that supported her well being, improved forecasting and accuracy. That's when I also realized that empathy isn't just, the soft skills, it drives real performance. The team then became more engaged. There was like a lot of coaching session that happened, and it improved because people felt that it's safe raising risk earlier.
Yeah, and I agree. Like having that empathy opens up a level of transparency on your team. So it's a very important leadership aspect that we bring to the table. Aubrey, how about you? How are you
For
showing up
me,
differently?
yeah, I think over the years, and it's a lot of years in workforce management, yeah, right? I used to be very metrics driven, very passionate about it when I started in workforce management, right? And then over the years with mentors that have really shaped up my direction in workforce management, I began speaking the language of the business. It's like, not just reporting on metrics, on operational metrics, but framing the insights of my team around customer impact, around financial outcomes, around operational risk. I think this was also mentioned earlier, a lot of what if scenarios, right? If we do this, this is going to be the impact. If we do not do this, this is how it's going to shape up, right? The action and inaction is what Francia has mentioned. So when you connect the strategies to business results, that's when it shifted for me, right? And naturally, we earn a stronger voice in the table, right? We influence instead of just recommend. It's a given right away, that the
I,
confidence starts to shape up.
I love that right now your technology, I don't know if you know this, you're like blopping around the screen, which is just showing you shifting your seats at the table. I think you did this on purpose, Audrey, just to really hone in how much you have to jump into different seats here in workforce management. No, that's great perspective. Vina, how about you? How do you show up differently now that your seat is open at a different table?
Yeah. So, couple of experiences, what I have sort of realized is while we all bring empathy, I think it's very natural for women to have that empathy. This also allows people to open up to us more, better than our counterparts, is what I would say. Definitely better they do open up than they open up to the male colleagues. This also brings in that insight, probably which they might be missing. So there are multiple such scenarios, at least I have seen. A woman going through some tough situation, they are not able to open up to others. And even for men, I mean, their managers may not be that empathetic, they don't want to listen to it. So these are the scenarios that usually pops up to us. And when we do write any process policies, I think all of this reflects in our work. Right. So that actually has helped. In my own experience, I can relate to this very well. And it has, helped us create such process or a workflow or a policies which says, yeah, okay, probably this scenarios can be addressed. So I think, and there is also a misconception that women at times may not be logical. But I differ there. I think with all of this insights, we become more logical with empathy there. So I think we can drive better outcomes and better ways of working. And this has been my personal experience, Melissa.
It's funny, in every company I go to, and I don't announce this, but it naturally happens. My last organization, people started referring to me as Mama Johnson. And now, my organization now, without me telling them that, one of the countries, and some of them are represented here on the call me mother. And I think it's a compliment. Like they look to you as someone with empathy, and they know I drive them, and I definitely need results. But somehow you take on that nurturing role in their lives if you're doing it right and you're showing up. Like, you can be very demanding of a workflow and still treat people with empathy and respect at the same time. So I take those. I always, when I hear that nickname bubbling up wherever I am, I'm like, there it is. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Rachel, for you, it's very interesting, right? Because you have this, this depth of experience, and now you walk into a new organization, you're hired for your capabilities that you have, and then you kind of have to sit at this table and kind of, really demand and command what you need to while still showing up in your uniqueness. How do you show up there?
Yeah, 100%. I rely on my intuition a lot. I read the room. These are the soft skills we've learned as women, like read the room, what is expected of me, how do I get above and beyond, how do I command authority and respect. And I use my intuition to read the room, understand the dynamic personalities that I'm working with, figure out like what their perspective is and how I meet that at that level to get that earned seat at the table and understand the buy-in basically from my newer peers and executive leadership. I think, and then you do that by following through with coming up with great ideas, having the confidence at the table, and then also doing that, yes, from a form of empathy or trying to approach it from a I don't want to say less logical perspective, but a more strategic and big picture, looking at all the different components, because at the end of the day, we employ people. And I think that is one way. And then also I am really large on empowerment from my team to help them grow and develop and find where their specific skills are. And I talk through that as one of my expectations and one of my goals to make sure that I'm not just looking at the numbers, not just looking at the data, but I'm also bringing to the table an awareness that at the end of the day, these are people, and that part of our responsibility as leadership is to create succession plans and making sure that we are empowering the people on our team to be able to step up and develop and grow the next generation of workforce management.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's a unique perspective as women. And I don't know. I'll have to ask some of my male counterparts. Like we talk about like giving scope of authority and team enablement, but maybe that's just part of our nurturing feeling, right? That like we nurture people to grow as women. That's and do we bring that into the workforce uniquely? And I've never thought of that perspective. Rachel S., what do you think?
I agree to that. And what I'll add, I think we allow space to make mistakes without heavy consequence. We create not create opportunities, but we allow for mistakes to be made where they can be learned from, that it's not severely detrimental to themselves or clients. Like, I'm never going to let my team make a mistake that I cannot help them fix.
Right.
But I will let them make mistakes.
I said the same thing to my teenage children. So I wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that uniquely us? it's an interesting perspective, and I'm really excited. I'm going to dive into that more. I'm going to talk to some of my counterparts. All right, so let's now kind of dive into how we partner, because as our seat has changed, who we partner with has changed. 20 years ago in WFM, you were slave to operations, right? That was our partner. Maybe finance, like maybe a little bit if you're a cap planner, you sat between ops and finance. But I can't speak for you ladies, but I directly sideways support operations, finance, obviously, now the sales team, right? Because as you said, Rachel, like there's more and more WFM as a service. So and then technology, if you think about all the technologies we use. So we sit between ops, finance, technology, AI, clients. How do you partner with leaders across your organization, across these departments? Like, what are you doing differently now? I'll let anyone jump in who's passionate about this one.
Probably I can start, Melissa. So, to be specific, I partner a lot, but I wanted to highlight a lot of other departments. But I wanted to highlight 3 departments I partner with most. It's operations, finance, and technology. So with operations, I work closely with operations leaders to align, of course, capacity with demand, enabling predictive service performance for smoother customer experience. With finance, we collaborate with them in terms of budgeting, scenario modeling, identifying cost efficiency opportunities that won't compromise service or employee well-being. And technology, WFM plays a key role in planning for automation, for digital adoption, and future skills to ensure that our workforce strategy aligns with transformation roadmap. So we play a very critical role to translate data into clear business narrative. When we are presenting scenario-based analysis, that allows the other departments to understand, trade-offs and make informed decision. That's why we're very critical, I would say, because we're involved in early planning cycles. We shape strategy and we help them to create accurate, transparent, and strategic vision for the organization.
I'm going to say something really transformative really quick, because right before you said it, I wrote down the word transformation. So, Francia, I'm naming you a future Chief Transformation Officer. So if you don't know what your seat is, I'm going to go ahead and call it out for you. So just call me and invite me to lunch when you're a CTO, because that is the seat, right? That's where we're transformation officers coming in from a workforce route. Very insightful. Who else? Anything on how you partner differently across organizations?
Yeah, for me, strong partnerships really come from aligning on shared outcomes, right? Rather than defending functional perspectives. I remember days in the past where, you focus either the end of your shift or the start of your day on how do I defend the metrics? How do I present the outcomes, right? Right now, really working with TA for hiring, right? Working with finance, as Francia has mentioned, working with sales even for new programs, right? Possible new programs. Working with technology for the tools and automation that would help propel the organization into, a different level. Workforce, I would say, and personally how I partner is more so in connecting the dots, right? And making sure that we help the leaders see the bigger picture, right? The devil is on the details, right? So we piece all of them together and bubble it up into, okay, this is what the outcome is gonna be if we piece all of these processes and functions together.
You're foreseeing the future through the outcomes. And I like that. And I think about too, how many times are you picking up the phone and explaining the outcome to another leader quietly, right? To be like, hey, you pre-tell them what's going to happen on this call, because everyone is learning at a different level, and you don't want to jump on a call without everyone understanding the outcome you're trying to bring together. So I think that's a great perspective of connecting the dots and sharing the outcome, showing them that what you're trying to do actually gets them to the outcome that they have made seen differently. Rachel, I'll let you guys pick which one.
I'll go. I have a thought here. So I echo a little bit of what Aubrey said and shared winning here. So like on our sales team, I partner with them to make sure that they want to sell our services and that they're comfortable with them and they know what they are and they know how to sell them. But I will add marketing as a team I've worked with really closely. I'm maybe not as good with words and what's the right words to use to get somebody to click based on their role. So partnering with them on how do we productize and get this out to the people who need our services has been a big improvement for us here.
Great. Rachel?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really partnering with, excuse me, all the different departments that impact our work, and just that it's almost like I try to do a workforce management roadshow, like get in front of engineering, get in front of marketing and say, get in front of finance, but especially marketing and engineering. It's if marketing is going to put on a promo, we need to know, like having that conversation about like how the outcomes can vary based on how you launch a promo. And then additionally working with engineering to have these conversations about like, if you can improve these 4 things, or if we can partner to get these differently, we can drive X out of the business, right? To start having a lot of that. Yes, Workforce Management Roadshow. It is surprising how many people across an organization, and I've been in a multitude of industries, don't truly understand what workforce can do. And so with the seat at the table, I am really also to tie back to what I am doing with it is education. Anybody who will listen to me, I will tell you about how workforce management works and how partnering with workforce management will drive a better outcome across not just your department, but across the company overall.
Well, and I think that's important because one of the things that I try to do, and I know you all do, it's not about this silo of, well, that's workforce's work and that's your work. I jump into any organization that needs my help. And the leadership team knows that. If I go, hey, I can actually help you with that. And I take on that transformational hat that you talked about, like, just do it. Who cares? Who cares whose work it is? If you can do it better, if it doesn't sit in your space, help them do it, document it, build a process and say, here you go. All fixed. Like it's what we're good at. Veena, how about you?
Oh yeah, apart from the working with finance, because today if there is a shortfall of revenue, I think I'm the first person they reach out to, telling what can we do to enhance the revenue for this month, because there's a shortfall, and can we do something, and we ramp up with some client. So I think that's one of the powerful things that is there. But apart from that, there are 2 very interesting connects that I usually have. One is on the pricing, right? All these premium skills that is coming up, and how do you really position? I don't think apart from those technical SMEs, the only other function or the team that can understand this is the workforce planning and the management, right? Who are really on the ground, working with the clients, working with stakeholders. They know what is that combination of skills or the premiums that come in, and how can we position ourselves as a premium pricing around all of this. So that's one with the pricing team, what we do. I think that's driving a lot of value, which actually is better positioned with the clients. This also drives us to work very closely with the sales team. So
Right.
this is one. And second is also on the emerging technologies, especially in the last of year or so. There's so much of change given, especially we are focused on the AI. Working very closely with these technical people, the technical leaders, I think to understand what can be the next skill that we should actually start planning today. Should we do an upskilling, or should we really go to the market, hire or partner with some vendors to get such a talent in before even the client comes to us with that ask? So that sort of a planning with the technical leaders, I think these are the 2 very important conversations that is transforming the way that we are actually working.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one of the things I thought about here, like sometimes you have to know what you have to tell each leader. Like if I had an hour at my CFO, what am I focusing on? Where I have an hour with my head of, IT, my CTO, what am I focusing on? If I have an hour with my head of sales, my head of client success, and even workforce for me, because now my seat is all of the workforce strategies as far as talent acquisition and learning. That old blame game that workforce professionals used to do? So the blame game is this. Well, we can't staff because training didn't do a good job with training the people. And then training says, well, I couldn't train the people because talent acquisition didn't hire the right people. And then talent acquisition says, well, I didn't hire the right people because workforce management didn't give me enough time. And workforce management says, I didn't give you enough time because I thought this training class would have had better output. So it's just like this cycle of blame. Well, my organization, that cycle's gone, thank goodness, because it shouldn't ever have been there. Of like, so who's the boss? Who leads TA? Oh, that's me. Oh, wait, who leads, training? Oh, that's me. You can't blame anyone, right? You own the whole cycle, but we should all feel that way. Like it's not about a broken process. It's about we own it together. So this has kind of become now like we're almost project management transformational. Like when I do peak plan, like we have to plan for all of it, not just our department of how many humans we need to hire, but how are those humans going to flow through? So a very interesting. All right, so kind of moving into our last topic, which is around leadership style, right? We a little bit of it. We talked about Elizabeth's what we bring to the table, but what unique strengths do we bring? Like what leadership strengths do women often bring that are especially valuable in workforce management? And how has that empathy and listen helped you build influence in your organization? So who wants to jump in?
I think we're really good at holding space for multiple things at the same time. So we have the ability to hold space for both the business outcome and the human reality at the same time, and listen and anticipate friction and where reality isn't meeting the numbers or words. It's not really a soft skill anymore. It's a performance driver, and we can hold space for both at the same time.
No, I really like that perspective, Rachel. And I think, and it's not about doing two things at once, because no one can really do that, even if we think, but it's really about having both sides of your brain looking at it both analytically and emotionally at the same time, of recognizing that this person is not emotionally taking on this responsibility, or this person is not analytically taking that on, because when you're teaching someone something very complex, there can be a defense there. So I do think that's us analyzing at the same time. Great perspective. Aubrey or
Yeah,
Rachel, who about you?
one of the other things I see often in women leaders is really balancing that analytical thinking that you mentioned with strong relationship building, right? We're deeply data driven in workforce management, but it also requires influencing the many stakeholders across the organization, right? We see clarity and we excel at navigating both bringing that clarity in data and also building the trust and collaboration across the teams, right? It's different sometimes when egos come flying, right? But then I in a room full of like alpha males, alpha females, and whatnot, for a women for women leaders to be able to clearly get the point across because they have built that confidence and relationship with different stakeholders. I think that's incredibly valuable in aligning multiple leaders, right? Into, okay, we're marching to one beat here. So, while we have different opinions, this is the clarity that we can bring because we have not just analyzed the data but also have built that confidence from the different leaders across the organization to bring forward what our end goal or outcome is.
Well, and it's much easier to do when you have a relationship already there, right? And I agree, like
Yep.
those are important aspects, but sometimes it's hard in WFM because you're not always sharing the best news. But if you do it supportively, you can. Rachel, how about you?
So for me, I try to create an environment that empowers people to go the extra mile, to think intuitively, to take the next step, to try new things. I always greet my new employees with, here are the guardrails, here's the expectations. When you screw up, not if, but when. We all do, we're human. And I really try to take that aspect of all the things I've seen. How would I want to be treated? Where were the hiccups I had in life and in my career? And where did I feel stunted? And where did I really feel empowered? And I take that to my team in that, when you screw up, just come to me, own it, figure like let's do a postmortem. How did it happen? And let's make sure we never do it again. And how do we build that back up? And I really believe that helps my team feel that they can break down barriers and really just bring forth new innovation, new ideas, new concepts, try them, because they're not operating in a world where everything is a metrics and a result driven. It's okay to try. It's okay to experiment, and it's okay to admit you failed, because at least you tried.
Absolutely. And I think that level of empowerment is super important. Vina, I don't think we've heard of Vina. Anything new?
Yeah. I think women, of course, they bring in the collaborative leadership, empathy, and all of that. But I still feel we are better in building leaders or creating leaders who are more people centric. I think we understand it better. We probably, when we groom our own team, right, and see them grow, I've always observed that they are more, of course, they come with empathy. That also brings in that people centricity, right? And that is what, and for the entire workforce management, I think that is one of the traits that should be there in the organization, which actually adds a lot of value, and, the culture of the organization gets shaped by that. So bringing that people centricity, I think it's pretty natural wherever I have seen the women leadership. That they can be the other trait that I have observed and really compliment is also about being very analytic and logical, and ability to make those tough decisions when it calls for. At times, I have seen it is not so great, in the men, or at times they may not deep dive, but women, I think they go into deep. They understand, they empathize, and also have this people centricity sort of a thing. So the decision making is also better. That's what I always feel, because when I usually compare two scenarios or two incidents and see that, a leader A is a male and the leader B is a female, we usually tend to see, if we can, observe, we tend to see those differences. So I think that adds a lot of value to the women leadership.
Yeah, I agree. And, those of you who know me, who've been part of my circle for a while, one of my things, my spiel is the humanistic side of workforce management. Because what makes us good at our job is our ability to forecast human behavior. And you can't do that when you think of humans as widgets. So, and I'm gonna replace empathy with loving, because it's okay to say it. Like we truly care about people in a way, hopefully, like it's not because we can sense their emotions, it's because we truly care about their emotions.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not allowed to, we think we can't say it, but why not? Why can't we say it? I get great joy of, seeing people I work with grow, and it's not a competition. That if my team starts doing better at me at something, thank goodness. I'm so proud. Great response. Francia?
Yep. For me, women leaders are naturally blend analytical. They have the analytical rigor with emotional intelligence, collaboration, and resilience. That's the exact combination needed to lead a WFM in a way that is both operationally sound and human centered. But I also wanted to highlight three strengths. Um, Emotional intelligence. For me, women leaders often have this natural ability to read the room, not just
Yeah.
what people say, but how they feel it. And for me, this is valuable in WFM because we are in constant pressure. Cross-functional alignment requires sensitivity, and decisions impact real people, not just, staffing numbers. Next, it's inclusive leadership. We tend to create environment where people feel seen, heard, and valued. And for us, it's important because teams can collaborate faster if they feel that they are heard and they feel that they are valued. Ideas flow more freely. And inclusive leadership leads to higher accuracy and stronger performance. And lastly, it's our ability to balance compassion and accountability. WFM is a discipline of precision, performance, and people. And we often have that natural balance. I mean, caring for individual and staying firm on standards needed for operational stability. And that balance keeps our team motivated and disciplined.
I think that's great. And so as Aubrey, I'm going to let you answer and then also answer our final question at the same time as we go around because we're workforce, so we have to end on time. And I know Dr. Fritz was going to say that, but so as you answer that, Aubrey, I want you to think about what advice would you give the next generation of women entering workforce today?
For me, develop both your technical expertise and your leadership voice. Workforce is a highly analytical discipline, but the real impact happens when you're able to translate that into clear recommendations for the business, right? Don't just present the data, be confident in explaining what it means and what outcomes are going to be coming out of the actions that you drive.
I'm going to write that one down. That's a really good answer, Aubrey. Veena, how about you? What advice would you give the next generation of women entering workforce management?
Say that no organization can exist without this function or this role. It's that critical. So just go for it and don't forget, like they said, just showcase what you're bringing to the table. Do not take a backseat is what I would definitely say. We are no more an operational, transactional sort of a function. So just lead it from the front and be bold and just chase the opportunities that may come to you. And like you said, Melissa, I can do this, just give it to me and I will drive this. So I think that's sort of an attitude. We should definitely put it out because the organization is still not there to think that, okay, this team can also do this or do that, right? Can we partner with technology? They may really not know. I think it's up to us to show that path. So I think we should be bold and go for it.
Good call. Franza?
For me, my advice to women in WFM is to build a balance of technical strength and strategic confidence. Don't limit yourself for being the number person. Learn to translate data into decisions and decisions into stories leaders can act on. Also invest in partnership. WFM is strongest or is at strongest when it collaborates with operations, finance, HR, talent acquisition, and technology. And finally, trust your voice. The seat is open. Use it with intention, curiosity, and courage.
That's great. Rachel?
I think I would give the advice of obviously know your technology, have confidence in the data that you have, but the data is not the answer. The storytelling and what you do with the data is 100% how you advance yourself in workforce management and earn that seat at the table.
Great, thank you. Rachel S?
My advice would be to learn the business as deeply as you learn the function. Listen to calls, sit with agents, review cases. While WFM skills matter, understanding how decisions are made, how contacts flow, what leaders are and what's important to leaders, and how to optimize that. It's what's going to elevate your impact. I'd also say don't wait to be invited to strategic conversations. Bring perspective, ask questions, be willing to challenge assumptions thoughtfully. And when you do that, your seat can be permanent.
I love that. I'm going to end today with a little analogy. Because I'm going to say the seat is open. We all know that. Take up space. Take all the space you need. And I'm going to tell you guys a little analogy before I hand it back to Dr. Shiva. Have any of you ever been to a live concert where it's standing room, right? You're going to a concert in standing room only. And you, if you're me, you get as close to the stage as possible. That's what you do, right? You just kind of work in. As people open up space, you take that space. But then what happens when someone in your group has to leave? Generally, I tell them, okay, I'm going to take up more space, right? You kind of dance a little bigger, you take up more space to hold that space. Here, you're holding it for your team, right? You're taking up that space at the table you've been given to let your team come up as leaders. So what I would tell you as a new person coming into WFM, there are leaders ahead of you. There are women leaders who are already at the table. They're talking on this call and they're holding space for you. Just go up and take it. So if you're brand new in workforce management, maybe you're an RTA or maybe you're a supervisor and you're like, how do I get to be an executive workforce leader? We're here at the table and we're holding space for you. So that's what I would tell leaders coming in. So I really appreciate it, Dr. Shiva. I'm going to hand it back over to you if you have anything to close. And I'm so grateful for you ladies spending an hour with me. And you motivate me every day in our space. And I love the perspectives on technology and leadership. And I always get cared for in these times as much as we're caring for our audience. So I hope you got some takeaways as well. Dr. Shiva, back to you. And thank you for giving the women of leadership space today.
Thanks, Felicia. And it's been an amazing session. And I really learned a lot. I've been listening to all of them and I made a lot of notes. I'm sure that, this will have a lot of write-ups and a lot of takeaways in this. I thought I'll check if there are any audience have any questions to any of the panelists.
And we're all workforce professionals. They were all on to their next call, Dr. Shiva. You know that. Our calendars are booked tight.
All right. Okay. I think probably we can catch up on offline. Any of them, would want to ask any questions, they can connect. So, okay, with this, thanks, Melissa, for crafting the incredible, session. Seat is open. Something that, eye-opening for many of them. Many of us may be thinking that seat is not open. When you look at it, seat is open. Yes, we got to action it now. That has been an incredible theme that you crafted, and overall context and the questions have been very useful and very insightful. And all the esteemed panelists for your valuable time that you're taken to share. With all the audience, and this is going to be there on our YouTube channel, and it's going to benefit a lot of the WFM professionals and beyond that. Really express from GWFM, we express deepest gratitude for your valuable presence, insights, and sharing the tremendous knowledge. Thank you so much, and audience. Thanks for being there with us, and please reach out to us on our social media to see all the latest insights from this roundtable.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
With this,
Bye.
we conclude.
everyone. Thanks all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Really. Please.